In this video, I'm going to show you step by step on how I find profitable products to sell on Amazon through Amazon's FBA service. Now, if you're not familiar with what Amazon FBA is, it stands for Fulfillment by Amazon. And what that means is all you have to do is send in your inventory, the products you want to sell, into Amazon's warehouse. And Amazon will handle all the rest from fulfillment, storing your inventory, handling the payments, picking, packing, and shipping, customer service, and returns. So you don't have to do any of it. It's such a powerful and convenient service that gives you access to Amazon's over 300 million buyers in their marketplace. So I'm excited to jump right in, but hey, if this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Crescent, and my passion is sharing tips and strategies on how you can create a successful business on Amazon FBA private labeling. And if you enjoy videos like this, or you've been around my channel, smash that like button or share this with a friend. You'd be doing me a huge favor and I'd really appreciate it. Let's get started. Now, the first step with product research is identifying niches that have high demand but low competition. And the tool that I like to use and recommend is the web app from Jungle Scout. Now, if you're not familiar with what the Jungle Scout web app is, it's a tool that has all of the products in the Amazon marketplace and allows you to filter the products by certain criteria that you're looking for. So in this case, we're going to set some filters and have the web app find products that match our criteria. All right, and the first step with product research is figuring out what your profit goals and targets are. So most people are looking for products that will generate around $3,000 a month in profit. So you need to first, before you even search for your first product, break down that $3,000 profit that you're trying to make into a daily figure that you can shoot for when you're doing product research. So the easy math of it is you take $3,000 profit per month and you divide it by 30, and that ends up being $100 a month in profit that you need to make. And a good starting point for how many units that you can sell per day is 10 units. So to make $100 a day selling 10 units, you need a profit margin of $10 per unit. Okay, so if you use these numbers and make sure you set these ahead of time, it gives you some hard figures to aim for and look for while you're doing product research. It's very important that you do this ahead of time. All right, and so a product research tool that I like to use is from Jungle Scout, and it's their web app. And if you're not familiar with what that is, the web app has all of the products in the Amazon marketplace, and it allows you to set filters and criteria so that it shows you only the matching products for your filter set. Now, this is what the Jungle Scout web app looks like, and here is a list of categories that I want to find products in. So depending on what your personal preferences are, you can add or remove categories, but these are the categories that I like to use, and the ones that I want to avoid, such as toys and games and computer accessories and cell phone accessories, simply because they're too competitive. But if you want to do it, you certainly can. I recommend finding products that are in the price range of $15 to $50. And the reason being is because anything less than $15, there's not much profit margin left for you to make any money, because there's product costs, shipping, and the Amazon fees. And the fees are generally around $5 to $6 for the small size tiered products, and your shipping and unit cost from overseas is probably $5 or $6 on average, let's just say. So that's $10 already. And if you're selling your product for anything less than $15, you're only making a couple dollars, so it's not worth your time. So make sure you have your profit margin set and the minimum price high enough so that you have enough money left over to make it worth your while. Okay, so $15 and then a max of $50, because you want to make sure that these products that you're finding are more or less impulse buys. Anything over $50, and people are going to start researching, comparing prices more. And so the next step is identifying if there's enough demand. And you're going to judge demand by the sales velocity. And you've already predetermined that based on your daily profit goals. So if you need to sell 10 units per day to make $100 a day, you know that over the course of a month, you need to sell at least 300 units. So we can use that as a starting point and filter products that are doing at least 300 units per month. And so moving on to competition, we can judge competition in a niche based on the number of reviews the top listings have. And so the more reviews, generally the more competitive that niche is. So in this case, we want to make sure that at least 7 out of the top 10 listings have no more than 75 reviews. All right, and so we can set all of these filters into the Jungle Scout web app and have it do all the work for us. So as you can see, the web app is going to filter out all the products that meet your criteria. And so you want to find products that catch your eye, that look a little bit different and unique. But you want to stay away from gimmicky and novelty items. Now let's just say I found a rib rack that matches those criteria. What I'm going to do is then go to Amazon and type in rib rack and analyze the data in the entire niche to see if it further meets the criteria that I'm after. I want to first look down the list and make sure that the results are indeed the rib rack that I'm looking to do and that it's not filled with random items. So then I click on the Jungle Scout Chrome extension. And what this does is it pulls up a bunch of data that I can look at a glance. So I can see here that I have the price, the sales per month, and the reviews, the 3 qualifications that I'm looking for. So what I'm looking for is, do the top listings meet my 300 units per month target that I'm after? So I don't want to look over here and look at monthly sales, the average, because 1 or 2 super high or low listings can throw off that average. So what I want to do is just look at the listings here and see if the numbers meet the 300 units that I'm after. And I can see here that they're not. They're averaging around 130 units for these listings here. Okay. And then again, the price, I want to make sure that it's at least $15 minimum. And I can look here and see, again, I don't want to look at the average because 1 or 2 super high or low listings can throw off the average. So I want to look through here, and it looks like the average around here is $15, $16. Okay, so that meets that, but the sales is too low. And again, the reviews, I want to make sure that 7 out of the top 10 have no more than 75 reviews. So here I can just count. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them have more than 75 reviews. So this niche is far too competitive. And that's how I analyze the niche and quickly determine if it's a good potential product or not. Now there's a couple other criteria I need to be aware of too. And the first is to make sure that it's not seasonal. And how do you know if it's seasonal is you can go to Google Trends, or you can look on a website called camel.com. Now, if we looked at a product that we know is seasonal, such as a pool noodle or a Christmas tree. Now, if we go to camel and look at a mosquito net, for example, like this one, and look at the sales rank, you can see that over the course of its sales during the winter months, it took a nosedive. And so that shows that the product is seasonal, right? And you can also do that with Google Trends. So if you go to Google Trends and type in mosquito net and look at the past 5 years, you can see that it takes a dip every year, right? And that shows you that the product is seasonal. So you want to avoid these types of products that are seasonal. And next, you want to make sure that the niche isn't brand dominated, meaning there isn't one seller taking up 3 or 4 or more of those listings, or dominated by any major brands like Nike or Adidas. And one way to tell is to go back to Jungle Scout and look at the brand and make sure you don't see the same brand more than 3 or 4 times, right? So for example, here we see Weston once, twice, which is okay. Weber twice, and that's okay. Now to show you an example of a niche that is brand dominated, let's look at a yoga block. And if we click on the Jungle Scout Chrome extension, you can see here that Guyam shows up once, twice, 3, 4 times. So they're dominating this niche and people are probably more likely to buy from them. So make sure you avoid niches that are brand dominated. All right, and along those same lines, you want to make sure that the product isn't patented or trademarked. And you can usually easily tell if the product is patented if it's sold by a major well-known company such as Sony or Apple or Nike, Adidas, for example. But if it's an obscure brand name that you don't recognize, you can go to Google Patents or the USPTO.gov website and type in the broadest keyword for that niche, such as garlic press or rib rack, and see if your product shows up in there and the photos or description describes the product that you're trying to sell. And if you find anything in there, then most likely there is a patent and you want to avoid it. Now, for trademarks, you can't sell products that are trademarked or licensed because they have intellectual property rights with it. So you can't sell products, for example, Star Wars or Nike or Adidas, again, because those names and logos are trademarked. So avoid those products as well. Now, the next thing I look for when I'm doing product research and I've identified a potential product is how can I differentiate it? And it's very important that you find a way to differentiate because that's how you're going to separate your product from the rest of your competition. And it's also very important to make sure that the way you differentiate adds value. And so one way to differentiate is to bundle. And that's adding a small bonus item with the original product that pairs well with it. Another way to differentiate and add value is to fix a problem. And how you can find out what problems to fix is to go through the listings and read the reviews and see if there's a common problem that people are complaining about and fix that problem with your product. And another way to differentiate is to create a better listing, taking better pictures and having a better description. Now, if you look at the product and you can't think of a way or find a way to differentiate that adds value, then I would avoid that product and find another niche. There are products out there that you can't find a good method of differentiation. There's nothing good that pairs with it to bundle, and there's nothing to fix. So if that's the case, then potentially sideline this product for now and move on to another one, because if you can't find a way to differentiate, there's no way to separate yourself from the rest of the competition. And selling the same copycat product as everyone else isn't going to be successful, because the only way to differentiate then is by price. And if you differentiate by price, it's always going to be a race to the bottom, and everybody in the niche is just going to keep lowering the price until no one makes any money. So don't do that. Always compete based on value, so you can increase the price and charge a premium for the added value. Do not compete on price. Now, lastly, I want to make sure that there's enough support in the niche by the existing sellers, yet it's not oversaturated. And how you can tell is to make sure all the ad locations are being used by the existing sellers in the niche. And these are the two locations at the top that say sponsored. And if you scroll down at the very bottom here. Now, if you see any locations unused, that means the sellers aren't making any money, so they're not willing to spend any money on ads to sell their product. It's very important. And additionally, you want to be aware if the niche is saturated or will become saturated by looking at products on the first page and see if it's filled with a bunch of new sellers. Now, it doesn't mean that it's a bad niche if it is filled with new sellers. It just means recently there's been an influx of new sellers so that you're going to be competing directly with them. And so how you can tell is if you click on the listings on the first page, you can use a Chrome extension tool called Keepa, and it'll show here the price history. But what you're looking at is how long has the listing been around. So this one's been around for 1,700 days. Now, if you go down all the listings on the first page, and the majority of them are less than 6 months, like 180 days or so, you'll know that there's a whole bunch of new users in the niche. And so the problem with saturated niches is typically because people that are using the same search criteria are all seeing the same products. So one might pop up today and a whole flood of people saw it and all got in at the same time. And so you'll be competing with them. And so in the next 3 to 6 months, you're all going to be selling the same product. And so you want to make sure you're aware of what's going on in the niche so you can make an educated decision. All right, let's take a look at some examples of Jungle Scout data of good products and some bad products so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. So let's dive into my Facebook group and take a look at some screenshots. For example, in this one, you can see that the price point, again, don't look at the average price. You want to look and scan down the column and kind of eyeball it and see if the price is over $15. Okay, so you can see here the average price looks like it's around $18, $19. And reviews is good. You want 7 of the top 10 to have less than 75 reviews. So that's good. And the problem here is that the sales is inconsistent. You want to see even distribution of sales and not suddenly drop off or go high, low like this. Okay, so if you're shooting for like 300 units a month, you want to make sure that the majority of the listings are doing around 250 and up and not inconsistently going down the list. And here's another example of a bad one. So here, take a look. Again, you don't want to look at the average price as listed up here. one or two really high or low listings can throw off that average, right? So you want to look down the column, again, eyeball it, and you can see the price is definitely over $15, looking probably average of $25. Okay, reviews, looks good. None of them are over 75, right? But the problem here is sales. It's way too low, right? You got to make sure that your sales are high enough to support the target profit margin that you're trying to hit. All right, and here's another example of a bad niche. Again, we'll look at the price, make sure it's over $15, and a quick glance, you can see that it's not. It's probably an average of $8 or $9 range, right? Maybe $10. Even though the price up here says it's 13, the average is 13. Remember, this average can be thrown off. So you want to look down this column. And if you look at the reviews, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are over 75. Okay, so it's way too competitive. And sales is, it's inconsistent. Again, it's high, low, high, low. You want to make sure that all of the listings have consistent sales numbers all the way down, because it'll show it has good demand through the entire first page. All right, so let's take a look at an example of a good one. So if we look at this here, first thing we'll look at is the price. We'll make sure it's above $15, and you can see the average here looks like it's around $27, $26 range or higher, which is great. We'll look at the competition. 7 out of the top 10 has to have less than 75 reviews. And if we look down here, it looks like none of them are in over 75 in the top 10. There's just one down here in position 11, which is great. And then if we look at sales, it's consistent. It's consistently over 300 all the way down the list, right? So this is a great example of what a good niche looks like, all right? So take note of that. All right, let me know in the comments if you found this helpful. And if you're looking for more in-depth and detailed videos on product research, I do have more content on my channel. Feel free to browse through them. If you found value in this video, you know what to do. Smash that like button, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you click that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. There's also a link in the description to our community forums, which you should totally join. And as always, thanks for watching.